Hello, welcome to market analysis for the week of October the 4th. This is Raman Gill and I will take you through your market analysis for today. So we'll start things off by looking at the Forex Factory, by looking at the calendar for this week, and then we'll go into the technical charts and finally wrap things up by looking at commitment of traders data. Before we dive into it, just a quick disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only. If you have questions about your individual investment needs, I recommend you talk to an investment advisor. All right, let's get started. So we are looking at the Forex Factory economic calendar here. The news is pretty much spread out throughout the weeks. It isn't heavy on any particular time of the week. So to start things off on Monday, we have a lot of PMI numbers coming out for the euro. The important news here is the services PMI number for the pound coming out at 4:30 a.m. Eastern. That's the number that will have impact on the pound, so we'll keep an eye on that. We also have an investor confidence number for euro at the same time. We also have this week, we have Eurogroup meetings, so something to keep an eye on as you trade. At 10 a.m. Eastern on Monday, we have ISM non-manufacturing PMI numbers for the U.S. And then that's it for the U.S. session. Going into the evening session, into the Asian session, we have business confidence number for the New Zealand dollar. This is an important number for New Zealand dollar, so something we'll have to watch if you're trading the New Zealand dollar cross. We also have trade balance for Australian dollar, which is again important number for the Australian dollar. We also have cash rate and RBA rate statement. The interest rate is not expected to drop. However, this is something we'll have to keep an eye on because they have been known to surprise the market by doing unexpected rate cuts. So we have seen a lot of pressure, a lot of downside in Australian dollar. It is possible to get a rate cut. However, at this time, we are not expecting that. Regardless, I would suggest keeping an eye on this interest rate and the interest rate statement here if you're looking at the Australian dollar. Going into Tuesday, we started the morning off with German factory orders at 2 a.m. Eastern. And again, we have Eurogroup meetings on Tuesday as well. Not major news other than that for the European session. Going into the U.S. session, we have trade balance for the Canadian dollar. We also have trade balance for the U.S. dollar. So again, these are important numbers that could be market moving for these two currencies. Coming out also, we have GDT price index number. This is a very important data point for the New Zealand dollar. This is the dairy prices for New Zealand. Dairy is an important part of the New Zealand economy. So usually, even though this number tends to be volatile, it does have market moving characteristics. So keep an eye on that for the New Zealand dollar. Going into later on into the afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have ECB President Draghi speaking. But we haven't really had any kind of clear direction in terms of the QE. They're on hold in terms of expanding the program, so they're continuing on with it, even though they have expressed that flexibility that there is a potential to increase that or adjust the QE program as the market needs it. However, at this point, they haven't made any changes to it. So the market will be looking to President Draghi's comments to see if there are any potential changes that are expected to the QE program, which would then have direct impact on the euro. So something important to keep an eye on here. We also have, the same day, we also have monetary policy statement coming out for Japanese yen later in the Asian session. So another important data point here. Going into Wednesday, October the 7th, we have Bank of Japan press conference. And then we have 4:30 a.m. Eastern, we have manufacturing production numbers for the pound. Again, important data point for the British pound here, so something to watch out. Going into the U.S. session, there only is one important data point here for Canadian dollar, which is building permits. Other than that, we are fairly light on the red news. However, we do have this GDP estimate number and crude oil inventory coming out as well. So if you are trading the Canadian dollar, again, something to pay attention to here. And then finally on Thursday, we have, again, important data for the British pound. Here we have a lot of interest rate related data coming out this week. So for the British pound here, 7 a.m. Eastern, We see MPC official bank rate votes and monetary policy summary. We also have official bank rate statement or official bank rate data here. At this point, the interest rate is not expected to change. A while back, we had looked at a couple months ago where we had looked at a forecast of 207, which means two of the members were looking at, MPC members were looking at potential interest rate hikes. However, that number has held at 1, and it is expected to continue to do so. We haven't seen a ton of really positive data out of the pound, so there's no real reason for this number to actually go up. So at this point, the market actually expects the interest rate to be held, and also the MPC members voting in favor of interest rate hike to stay at just 1. If we do see a surprise, that will have an impact on the British pound here. Then 7:30 a.m. Eastern, we have ECB monetary policy meeting accounts coming out, which is important number again. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern, we have unemployment claims for the US dollar. At 2 p.m., we have Bank of England Governor Carney speaking, and then we have FOMC meeting minutes. So these two will be important data points. We had seen that Governor Carney was quite hawkish on the British pound, so market will be looking to him to see what his stance is at this point now that the US or that the Fed hasn't raised the interest rates and they have pushed the interest rate hike backwards into December. So now the market will be looking to see what Governor Carney has to say and how that changes his tone. We also have FOMC meeting minutes. Again, this will be important because market will be looking to see what was discussed at FOMC, get more details around the meeting. Going into Friday, we have trade balance for the British pound, which will be important number here. And then into the US session, we have Canadian employment change and unemployment rate data coming out. Other than that, it will be a fairly quiet. We have FOMC, a couple of FOMC members speaking. Other than that, it will be a fairly quiet Friday afternoon. So that's it for our calendar. So let's go take a look at the charts now. So we are starting off here with the Euro US dollar chart. This is a weekly chart that I am looking at. And as you can see, market has kind of held the prices below this number, which is 1466 here. The prices have kind of stayed below this. Euro has stayed below this. Now we seem to be forming a triangle. So what we need to see at this point is to see if the price breaks out of this. Price has been coiling, it has been getting tighter, and now it remains to be seen if we are able to break out of this to the upside or not. So the first thing that I'm looking at in terms of our candle close here, we see a rejection to the top of the range. This was a daily range that we were looking at. Now it seems like market rejected that. On the non-farm, the poor non-farm numbers actually pushed the price up here in euro, and then we saw the price come back and close in this sort of formation here. So this shows rejection of the top. However, the price hasn't broken to the downside. So that's what we'll be looking at. So we may see, in terms of the bias here, based on the weekly chart, this will be neutral to bearish for the euro here. We still are sitting in this range. We haven't gone above that. We have seen multiple pin bars. So market has made lower highs. And now we see price rejection at this point. So we'll be looking for a pullback and then a potential move to the downside coming to test this trend line right here. So at this point, if the price holds above the trend line, then again, we're looking for price to move back up, back into the range to the top side. However, we could potentially see a break of this, and then we'll be looking at this area for the price to come down and test this. So in terms of the weekly bias, we are biased neutral to bearish at this point. So let's take a look at the daily chart. So as we can see from the daily chart, this was sort of the range that has been held. If we just draw our support and resistance line in here. So market's been holding within this range. So this is the top, this 1300 level to 1330 or 1380 level to the upside. And then we have on the bottom here, we have this 1100 level that the market has been, 1120 level that the market has been holding in. So even if we could actually even push it down a little bit. So this 1100 level and 1300 level is where the price has stayed for majority of the time. So now based on our daily close, we saw on non-farm payroll, it went and tested the top of the range. However, it closed like this with a big pin bar, which shows rejection. So at this time, again, on the daily chart as well, we are looking for a push up and then selling into that rally. So that's what we're looking at, looking for the price to come to the bottom here. And then if it breaks to the downside, we're looking for price to come and test this bottom trend line. So the outlook for euro for this week will be bearish, looking for a move to the downside. Let's move on to the British pound here. As we can see, British pound, we saw really tight price movement in the pound. We saw a compressed move into the bottom of the range here. And in terms of the weekly candle, it was a very neutral candle. We saw rejection to both sides. However, the price was not able to hold below this 5100 level. So for this week, in terms of the weekly trend, we are still kind of in this bearish trend. And as we can see, last week we saw a good rejection of the price here. We saw an engulfing candle to the downside. So I am neutral on the British pound, which means we could see a potential move to the upside and then a move lower, or we can see a move to the downside and a break below this 5100 level. So I'm looking for price to maybe trade in the range and looking for a break of the range. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. So this is where the price has been trading the last few days, sorry. We have seen the price stay within this range, a very, very compressed move to the downside. And on non-farm payroll, we pushed up. And we did reject this top side, the 5250 area. And now this is how the daily candle closed. So based on this, I am bullish to neutral on the British pound in terms of the daily bias. So we may see a pullback, and then move going and testing this 5250 level. And at this point, we'll have to see if it actually rejects this area or if it moves up higher up. So if the price does hold above this 5250 level, we're looking for this 5320 level for the next target. And if it holds, then we're looking at this 5450 level for the target after that. However, we do need to see a break of this level. If it doesn't break, another scenario is that we may see a rejection like we have seen multiple times here. We may just see a rejection of this level, and the price may come down towards the bottom of the range again at that point. And then we'll be looking for a break to the downside, see if the price may break through, give us a back test of this level 5100 for a potential move to the downside. So again, range bound trading. So we are open to move to either direction. Dollar CAD here on the weekly chart, we have seen a very strong close. We saw a rejection of the price higher, and we saw a very strong close almost into the bottom of the range here. So this gives a very bearish weekly bias to this pair. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. As we can see, this was a very, very strong close in the dollar CAD, very bearish on the daily chart here as well. So in this case, we'll be looking for a pushback potentially into this level. As we all know, price doesn't just continue down in linear fashion. So we'll look for a pullback here and then a potential move to test this 3100 level. If it holds, if 3100 holds, we are looking at this 130 level to the downside. And at this point, we had pretty strong rejection of this level. So we'll be looking to see how price reacts in this level. If it does break down, we're looking for a potential move into this area to the downside. However, if the level holds, we are looking for a move back towards the top of the range. It will still be range bound till it actually breaks down and makes lower lows here. So overall on the daily chart, bearish, and on the weekly chart, it's bearish as well. Moving on to Australian dollar here, we are again trading in this range. We saw price come and test the bottom of the range. It rejected twice. It got rejected. Also at the top, the price was rejected previously. So at this time, Australian dollar is trading in this very narrow range. However, this broader range is what we're looking at. So 72.80 on the upside and 6,900 on at the bottom here. So trading in the range, it was a bit of an indecision candle. However, so I would say neutral to bullish on the weekly because it did reject the bottom here. Let's take a look at the daily chart. And as we can see, the price came down and rejected the bottom here twice, this little range that it has established. However, still trading in the range. So we'll have to look. It has pushed up to going towards the top of the range here. So if this level continues, if it does not hold, so the first thing we'll be looking for is a hold of this level, so 70-80 level to hold. If it does not hold and price starts to trade above the 70-80 level, then we are looking for a potential move into this area, which will be our next support and resistance area. And if that continues on higher, then we are looking at the 70-80 area. So again, trading in this range, at this point, it seems like it wants to go and test the top of the range. And so we'll be looking for a potential break of the range to the upside here and potential move to the upside. Nice rejection at the bottom. So let's see how that plays out. If it gets rejected here, then we are looking for a move to the downside, looking to test the bottom again at 69.50 level. So that's for the Australian dollar. Let's move on to the New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar has also been trading within this range. We have seen multiple rejections. Price has not been able to hold above here. And right now we are kind of holding at the right into the top of the range here. So if this level 64, 69 level breaks, we're looking for a move to the upside here, 67.50 area potentially. If it holds, then we're looking for a move to the bottom of the range again. So we'll, again, range-bound trading, looking to buy at 62.40-ish area and sell at potentially 64.70. However, it looks like price is pushing into this. So if you see a break above this, we are looking for a potential move to the top of this range here, 67.50 area. So based on the weekly chart, we are bullish on New Zealand US dollar. So let's go take a look at the daily here. Daily as well, we saw a rejection at the bottom and then move towards the upside here, towards the top of the range. A bullish close on the daily chart, so or daily candle. So we are looking for a break of this range potentially, and then move to the upside. If this range, again, we'll have to look at the price action in this area and see if we can find a trade setup that helps us see the direction of the market. So right now it's pushing into this range, so we may see the range break, a back test of this level, and then a move to the upside. And at this point, we'll be treating this as the outside of the range. So 67.50 would be a potential sell level. And if the price comes into the bottom here, 62.40 area, we would be looking for this level to hold and trade back into the range. So this will be a potential buy area. However, if the price does break down here below this level, we're looking for move to the downside to go and test the bottom here, which is 61.20 area. So we're looking for a test of that area. So that's for our technical analysis on the charts. So let's go take a look at commitment of traders data here. Okay, we'll start things off with Euro US dollar here. As we see, Euro has a slight negative bias here. We see the prices, the leverage money positions, the short positions have increased slightly. They've gone from 56,471 to 57,957. So they have increased their short positions. The asset managers' short positions have increased slightly as well. And as you can see, dealer longs, which are the hedging positions, have gone up. So we are looking for a downside. We're looking at a bearish move here. So this is based on the commitment of traders data for the euro. Let's take a look at the pound here. All right. So British pound, we see the asset manager short positions have increased. leverage money, they have decreased their long positions. So they are, which is a little bit bearish here, even though it hasn't been a significant change in the numbers here. It is slightly pointing to the downside, even though we are above the zero level and they are net long. However, we are seeing a slight decrease, which will point to a bearish outlook for the pound here. Let's go on to Australian dollar here. All right, Australian dollar, we actually see an uptick in our net short positions going down. So we see leverage money last week they had 37,299 short positions, and now they have decreased those to 35,580. And the same case for asset managers as well. The short positions have gone down, which would point to a move to the upside in Australian dollar. Looking at the New Zealand dollar here. For the New Zealand dollar, we actually see it was 10,926 for the leverage money, which has now increased. So their leverage money short positions have increased slightly. So have the asset manager shorts have decreased, leverage money shorts have actually increased, and we can see dealers are following along with that. So at this point, there has been a slight, so based on the leverage money positions here, we are looking at a slightly bearish outlook on the New Zealand dollar here. Let's take a look at Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar, we see an increase in the short positions for the Canadian dollar, which would point to an increase in dollar CAD. So we are expecting the price. So Canadian short positions have increased, which means dollar CAD would be expected to go up. That's all we have for the market analysis for this week.